From Manhattan, this is the New York Executive Podcast. The voices that move markets, the conversations that shape the boardroom. Live from our studios in Midtown New York City, here is today's program.
And welcome back. Life is full of change. We don't often like it. We kind of run from it sometimes, but it's inevitable. It's there. And it's all a part of transition. And sometimes you need a little bit of help to make that transition, that change. And sometimes it's a new chapter in your life. We're going to talk with somebody today that makes it a little easier to walk that journey to change. And especially if you're an individual involved in the criminal justice system, he's also got a connection there that can help move your life forward. But by and large, just new chapters, making changes. He is somebody that can coach you through that and even improve your character development, if you will. William Allen joins us on the program today. How are you?
Doing fantastic. How are you doing, sir?
Really well. I got to tell you, the name of your business, New Chapter Life Coaching, is such a great name because it is about a new chapter. And instead of like Transitions Life Coaching, nothing wrong with that, the new chapter sounds exciting because it's got the word new in there.
Absolutely. Yep. And that's why I chose that name. Because, none of our stories are complete yet. And we all have an opportunity to change our direction, create a new chapter, if you will, and move on with our lives.
So who can you work with? Who do you help?
So primarily I work with those that are involved in the criminal justice system, those that are coming out of our jails and prisons, those on probation, parole, to help them kind of reintegrate, not just complete their term of supervision, but really to break free of the criminal justice cycle. Many people that get involved in the criminal justice system, my experience, I worked in corrections for over 30 years. The vast majority of people want to do the right thing. They want to work. They want to support their families. They want to continue their education. For whatever reason, obstacles got in the way, and they complete their term, their sentence, but still struggle because they don't have the skills, the resources, or the support necessary to help them really break free. So that's who I work with.
I normally wait to ask about somebody's journey into what they do, but I think I'm detecting it's probably impactful to find out now. How did you get to this point where you're helping people move their life forward with the spotlight on those involved in the criminal justice system?
Yeah, absolutely. So I began my career with the Michigan Department of Corrections, worked over 30 years with the MDOC. Started off as an officer, worked my way up the chain of command, became a sergeant, then transitioned to a prison counselor, and then saw a different role. Really got to know the prisoners. Was able to read their files, provide some resources for them in the prison, help them with programming, and then I transitioned to the community as a probation parole officer. Worked in the community for a long time. Worked in both Detroit and in Lansing. Helping those involved, break free again of the criminal justice system, because the goal is really to rehabilitate and to help the clients break free of the system. That's the role of the officers in the prison. That's the role of the agents and the officers in the community, is really help provide and give resources so people don't reoffend, while also providing safe, secure, humane facilities. Keeping the public safe. After I retired, I moved down here to Clearwater, Florida, where I'm currently at, where the business is located, and I still felt that need to give back. The vast majority of people that get involved in criminal justice professions, whether it's law enforcement, corrections, they truly have a desire to do the right thing and to help people out. And I felt that even after I retired. So I spoke to a former colleague of mine, a couple former colleagues of mine, about wanting to do more, and came up with this idea of life coaching. I'm also a military veteran, served 10 years in military police. So using that aspect too of some of the skills and the resources and the knowledge I gained through my military service, combine that with my knowledge working in corrections, I figured there's ways we could help people, and I saw the gaps and how to bridge those gaps through life coaching and other supportive resources.
Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for your service. Wow, you've got some career there, and it continues just in a different form now. I got to ask, William, all those years in the criminal justice system, working with in all different capacities,
Mhm.
what would you hear from inmates? What was the common thread? What would they tell you?
They want to change. They want to do right. They don't want to spend their lives behind bars. They don't want to spend their lives looking over their shoulders, waiting for the police to show up, waiting for their PO to show up. That they want to do what is right. And, it's funny you mentioned that because I just had a client the other day mention that they understood they needed to go to prison. They committed the crime. They understood the need for them to be incarcerated, and they took advantage of a lot of the programmings in prison. But they said the struggle is now that they're supposed to, live a crime-free life, and this individual is doing everything that they're supposed to do. Um, but it's the lack of support. That they get some programming, they get some training, they get some education while in the system, but when they're out, that's where the struggle really begins. From housing, education, employment, all those things are huge barriers that those involved in the criminal justice system face. And accountability and punishment is one thing. If you break the law, you need to be held accountable. But as a society, we also need to help individuals get the tools and resources they need so they don't reoffend, so they don't go back in the system. And as a taxpayer, talk about a return for your investment. Programming and support services are a lot cheaper than anywhere from $30,000 to $80,000 a year to incarcerate somebody in this country.
Mm.
And then they become taxpayers themselves. The likelihood of their children or those the people that they're involved with getting involved in the criminal justice system is greatly reduced. It's a win-win. It leads to greater public safety, less funding going toward correctional facilities and jails, and more toward education and support services.
This is the stuff we don't think about on the other side. So somebody does their time. Let's say they take it, like you said, this one person took advantage of the programs, which I'm sure helps them with reentry back into society. Everything's looking great. Here they are. They get released. They got a new look at life. Now what? It's like being on an island by yourself, depending on how much time you spent. Let's say 10, 15 years, whatever it may be. It's a different world. You may come out and say, what the hell is this thing that people are oh, those are phones? You might not even realize a lot of the changes that have gone on since you've been incarcerated. And I would imagine that's where you pick up.
Absolutely, and that's a great example because I've worked with people that have spent years, some over a decade in prison, and using a cell phone, applying for a job, and it's all virtual now,
Yeah.
and that's a whole new world for them. And that's those are some real struggles that people face that we take for granted because we use it and don't even think about it.
100%. And I have to imagine that when you're in that situation, now you're applying for jobs. Oh, I got to do this virtually, and I got to use certain keywords on my resume to trigger that. What is this? It can be overwhelming, and I could honestly see somebody falling back into previous routines because they don't feel like they belong, and maybe that's part of why they went down that road in the first place from their childhood.
Absolutely.
Potentially.
Yes.
Wow. Can you walk us through, William, the process to help somebody in that capacity?
Yeah. So if someone gets referred to me or they self-refer them to my program, what I do is I sit down with them. I talk to them about their offense, what led to them going down that path, and then I create an individualized program for them. based on, if they have a history of substance abuse, if they have a history of gang violence, if they have a history of physical or mental abuse that they've suffered. All these things are factors into determining whether or not somebody is going to get involved in the criminal justice system. Some people just had a bad day, and made a bad decision. Well, then we work with them on, like cognitive behavior therapy, where, we change the way you think and the way, you realize that your thoughts lead to your actions, which lead to your behaviors, which could lead to consequences, both good and bad. And we just discussed that. We put ownership back on the individual. It's not, there may be a million factors on why somebody got involved in the criminal justice system, but what was your response to that, which led to you getting involved and taking that ownership and saying, okay, so now if I'm put back in that situation, I know what to do. I now have the resources. And I used to talk, especially when I was a sergeant, training new officers in the prisons, to tell them, you don't know their circumstances. Our job isn't to punish the offender. The role of the corrections professional isn't to punish them. That's the role of the court. The court determines their sentence. Our job is to be mentors, to make sure that the facilities are safe, make sure the public is safe by running safe facilities, by doing our job as field agents, doing all these things. But then to recognize that the correctional professional or the law enforcement professional may be the first honest person that this individual has ever met.
Wow.
And how much of an impact could you have simply by doing the right thing when you're supposed to? Speaking to an individual with dignity and respect, regardless of their crime. Doing what you say you're going to do, showing that integrity and that character to an individual that has never been around somebody that has integrity or character. That could be life-changing for them. So that's what our role is. That's what my role is as a life coach, as a mentor, to give them that support, to help them change that thinking behavior, and to allow them ownership for their actions. So when they're faced with decisions down the road, they know which direction to take.
You said the word, and I was wondering, if that was a part of you, but mentoring. It sounds like, aside, in addition to coaching, as a mentor, because a lot of these individuals have never seen what you just said: honesty, integrity, value, leadership. I don't condone anything that anybody's done, but when you look back, maybe from childhood, they've never ever seen something like that. It's almost foreign. Like, they probably don't even know how to embrace it at that moment, until they see more of it and understand it better. You're really sharing some stuff here today that we don't think about, on the other side of this. Yeah. Tell me about your book, 12 Weeks to a New Chapter.
So 12 Weeks to a New Chapter, it's basically just a guide to help those involved in the criminal justice system. It gives them some background. It gives them basically, in book form, it is a generalized life coaching plan. And it can be used for those that are involved in the criminal justice system, those that are incarcerated or under supervision, as well as the corrections or law enforcement professionals that are sitting down and working with justice involved people. Your prison counselors, your probation officers, your therapists, if you have diversion programs. It's just a guideline, but it's geared toward both the justice involved person and the correctional and law enforcement professional or support individual that can walk with them through this journey. So it's really just the basic roadmap. And then with my program, I sit down, like I said earlier, and create an individualized program, but it's based off that basic foundation of a 12 weeks to really get that ball rolling, to think about your future, not to dwell on the past, but to recognize it, move forward. And as I talk to people, if we're looking at getting to the peak of the mountain, there's boulders along the way, there's rocks along the way. Well, sometimes we got to go around them. Sometimes we got to break them down and use those as steps. But as long as we keep moving forward, And forward is a speed. It doesn't necessarily mean you're sprinting, but you're moving forward to reach that goal. That's what this book and that's what my program, and that's really what a lot of the support services for reentry is about, helping you overcome those barriers so that you can be successful.
Is this book available in correctional facilities? I know their books are available. This sounds like it'd be the best one. It
It,
would be
it
there.
that's a good question. It's available through Amazon.
Hmm.
I do know that, and I'm just speaking in generalities. Uh, Most books through Amazon that within our correctional facilities throughout the country, books are have to be approved. Uh,
Gotcha.
Certain books would not be appropriate in a correctional setting,
Sure.
but absolutely, this would be something that corrections professionals could use, and it's available for the prisoners and those you know. Under supervision to help them not only, like I said, not only to complete their term or their supervision, because in all honesty, anybody can do it. Anybody can follow the rules and, I'll use the word be compliant for X number of years or X amount of time. What do you do when that threat of return to jail, return to prison, rearrest is gone and you're on your own? That where that book and other resources could be available to kind of go back and review what you need to do to be
Sure.
successful.
Uh, when you say on your own, it sounds so exciting, but at the same time, it sounds so frightening in this situation. You mentioned the past, looking back at somebody's past. William, how do you describe what is the past? To you, how do you verbalize this thing called the past?
It's your experiences. It's the things that you've encountered that really shaped you. Um, you know, you know, I'm fortunate, I'll say it. I grew up in a middle class family, went to good schools, uh, didn't suffer abuse or neglect, and I was still a knucklehead at times. Uh, Very easily could have ended up on the other side of the law simply by some of the decisions I made in my late teens, early 20s. That really you don't think about. And a lot, I think most people in society, if not everybody in society, is simply fortunate that they didn't get caught when they were being knuckleheads or when they had a bad day. So, looking at somebody that grew up in a drug addicted home, a house full of abuse, surrounded by people involved in the criminal justice system, those are all things that shaped who they were. And so that's when I talk about your past and your history. Those are things we talk about. And, how do you overcome that? And it's really changing that dynamic of, you're not uh, who you uh, who you were raised by. You are your own person, and you have the ability to change at any time if given the right tools and resources to do so. It's not going to be easy. Most things that work out for you, most things that come with great rewards are never easy. But it's worth it. And so we talk about that. And again, I'm not a licensed therapist for the more deep and issues where they would need some additional resources. I always refer people to qualified mental health professionals that can give them the additional resources they need, and then we just support each other to provide the client with whatever they need that's going to help them be successful and break free of the criminal justice system.
Mm, wow. Different model here. If this is resonating with somebody and you would like to help, maybe you don't have somebody in the criminal justice system or somebody that's about to be released or has been. You allow people to sponsor and also donate to your programs to help others, right?
I do, and I'm always looking for businesses and those individuals that speak about supporting those involved in the criminal justice system, to donate, and it really all goes toward the individual. I was recently able to help one of the clients that I have with auto repair. Uh, they're working, they're doing what they're supposed to do. Car breaks down. Because of their situation, they weren't able to secure a loan because they haven't had a residence in
Mm.
6 months because their last X number of years has been in prison. They haven't been able to show a year of employment because they've been in prison. But they're doing what they're supposed to do now. They're working full time, actually over full time. They're doing great work. They're being violation free. So through my program, through New Chapter Life Coaching, part of our motto is to assist those, and part of that assistance sometimes comes through helping financially to support somebody to, for example, fix their vehicle so they can do the right thing. So I'm always looking for individuals and businesses and stakeholders that want to help out, and they can do so by going to my website, and there's a link to donate.
I heard this a couple of weeks ago, this phrase, and it resonated with me, and I think it fits here. Once you take responsibility for your life, you take back your power. It,
Absolutely.
yeah. And as much as I'm like, I don't know about that, the more I think about it and not deny it, you know, and look at it in different scenarios, it just seems to ring true, because we are all responsible for our lives. Yeah, things happen. But we have a choice of how we're going to react to those things that do happen. So you can help somebody in this situation, but also anybody that knows of anybody, a family member that's in the criminal justice system. They can reach out to you in anticipation of somebody being released soon.
Absolutely. And we can set up a program. I'm also willing to and able to support family members.
Mm,
That, one of the things that is a lot of times overlooked is the impact of the justice involved individual on their family. Whether it's, the you don't really think of it, but the traumatization of visiting mom and dad in prison. A young child being subject to a search, which has to be done
wow.
because people will bring contraband and other things into our correctional facilities, but we're searching children and family members that, haven't done anything wrong to visit mom, dad, brother, sister. And then that individual gets out of jail or prison and now they're back in the home, and you have the probation officer, the parole officer, the police officer coming out to the home on a regular basis, which is required and it's necessary. But what impact does that have on the family members? So, supporting them as well, who are supporting their loved one or their friend to help them be successful. So all that, and even the law enforcement or corrections professional, if they want someone to talk to help them
Mm,
deal with the high stress of the job, and it is high stress, and we're asking more and more of our criminal justice professionals every day. Our prisons are being operated with less staff. Our probation and parole officers have increased caseloads. Our law enforcement professionals are being asked to do more and more every day. We're there for them as well. Um, because we can't expect them to help out our most at-risk individuals if we're not providing them the tools, the resources they need so that their mental health is good too, and that both their mind and spirit are able to fulfill their mission as a criminal justice professional.
I never even considered that aspect of how you can help as well. Now you're in and around the Clearwater area. Can you
Yes.
work with anybody virtually anywhere if it fits?
I can, yes. So again, going back to technology, I am able to do things over Zoom, over Teams, uh, FaceTime, whatever an individual needs, I'm able to do that. And even within our correctional facilities and jails, if I was able to get in with an administrator, a warden, a sheriff,
Hmm.
and create a program, and those are things that I'm currently working on, that can all be done virtually. Because most of our correctional facilities, they're set up for virtual hearings and other things. So
Sure.
we could set that up.
Wow. How do we connect with you? Even just to start the conversation, William, what's the best way?
So you can reach me through my website, which is newchapterlifecoachingllc.com. My phone number is 727-348-4640. And I think I chose the longest email in the business, which is wallen, ALLEN, at newchapterlifecoachingllc.com. So that was fun to try to put that on a business card.
Thank you so much for today and what you do and bringing this to our attention. Such a need for it. Such a need for it. And getting the word out there. I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to let people know about this program and how it can help.
Yep. All right. We'll talk soon. We'll be right back.
You've been listening to the New York Executive Podcast, broadcasting from Manhattan to 30,000 channels nationwide. To learn more, or to bring your brand to our audience, visit nyexecpod.com. We'll see you next time.